Hi, everybody.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Happy Hanukkah. Well, I don't know if it's going to be Hanukkah when this comes out. Oh, no. Yeah. Whoa. This week, right?
Yes.
Thursday.
Yes.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Yeah.
Hope you're
happy
enjoying your
Hanukkah.
donuts and...
I love Hanukkah. It is actually my favorite Yom
your
Tov.
Yes. Why?
Yeah.
Because you eat donuts.
No, not only that. It's the most unproblematic Jewish holiday.
Yeah, you don't have to really do anything.
You don't have to do anything, and it's just joy and happiness and parties and love and
yeah.
no restriction. It's just, it only adds. Do you know what I mean?
True. It's true.
And it's also just
Purim
so
also,
festive.
Kind of. Yeah.
There's a strong feeling associated with Hanukkah.
And it's like a nice amount of time. So it's not like one day where it's like it lasts for a while.
Yeah.
You could plan out your parties. You could plan out your days.
Yeah, like every day is another function, you
Family
know?
party, friend party.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments what your favorite party was. Was it your friend's party, your family party, your community party?
I feel like the parties are always more fun than you expect.
Which ones?
They're just the parties. They're
Oh.
always more fun.
Yeah, they're always just, I mean, it's good. It's like always just like good food, donuts.
Yeah, it's just like a good time,
Who
you
can have
know?
a good donut?
You
know?
got
the custard.
Donuts.
Wait, what's your favorite donut? Wait, let me guess.
Go ahead.
Is it the custard one? Jelly.
Honestly, I probably like
the
what?
caramel dulce de leche?
No,
Oh.
I don't. Good, I knew you knew. I knew you knew.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, caramel is
Caramel is
actually
yeah,
my
Favorite. Is it
It's
really?
I actually hate caramel.
No, that's gross. Yeah.
Even in coffee, I just
It's
feel
too,
like it's too sweet.
yeah.
It makes me
No, by the
nauseous.
way, I'm not doing the same thing as I was doing before, but
What were you doing before?
like where I was like just copying everything you were saying. Like I actually agree with you here.
no,
that the caramel
I
is,
know.
Like,
yeah, I
yeah.
know.
It's not even just it's like too heavy, you know.
There's like a real, I don't know. It makes me
takes over.
nauseous. It
Yeah,
takes over. It's not light, you know, like a nice splash of vanilla. That's fine in
Right.
your coffee. I'm saying, or even chocolate is like a little bit less heavy.
Yeah.
You know.
So donut. I mean, my favorite donut is like the classic sprinkle hole in the middle donut. I don't want to be like wiping custard off my face, jelly
Are you
flying
kidding
from
me?
like
That's
everywhere.
the best. That is literally.
So what is your favorite donut? Is it jelly donut?
I think jelly is definitely one of my favorite donuts.
Okay.
I don't really have a favorite donut. I love donuts. I know which donuts I don't like. Every other donut I love. I
Okay,
love
right,
donuts. Donuts are like my kryptonite.
Mm.
And cinnamon buns with cream cheese frosting. But like
We have
donuts.
that at the CCF hub.
I know. I got it. By the way, do you want to plug it?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. I mean, it is pretty cool that I started this, but like last week we didn't have an episode because I was so busy with this new project I've been doing, which is like the CCF Hub, which is just like a community center that's been around for a while. My parents started it, and it's like every Shabbos we go there, but now I just opened it during the week, and it's like a student center, people to work, there's food, there's like just different things for people to be there. So it's really cool. And so like I'm also like, you know, we got a good like coffee machine, so we have like really good coffee, cinnamon buns, croissants, everything, pizza.
Amazing.
It's really good. Salads.
Do you have caramel syrup for your coffee?
I do have caramel syrup, but
I'll
like
only come if there's
I
caramel
don't-
syrup.
I have with vanilla syrup. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm having an iced coffee, I pump some vanilla syrup.
Yeah, but you sugar free.
I don't have sugar free, but we have sweet and low. We have sweet and low.
Okay. Cool.
But I'll get this. I'll get the sugar free for you.
Come everyone to the CCF Hub. That's awesome.
CCF
I think
Hub.
it's the coolest thing. That
Yeah,
you're
it's really nice.
started
And
something like that.
I think it's just like, I don't know. It's just crazy that what different directions I've taken. Like today, somebody came in to work and he's like, what have you been doing? What are you up to? And I was like, well, I'm actually like, I'm studying for my psychology degree, but I also do a podcast and I'm also doing this. And
No, so
I
you
was
hustle.
explaining to him how like I was in an office job last year. I was just like all over the place. But I think this is really like where I'm meant to be, like in a place where I'm just like, I'm doing something my own. Like I really don't need to get paid. Obviously now I don't have that many responsibilities. Once you have responsibilities, you need the money. But like I want to do something like purely for the passion. Like,
Totally.
That's so exciting.
You're
and
very
so much more fun.
entrepreneurial, I would say.
Yeah, but less than entrepreneurial, more like just like doing something that's like risk taking, which is really in the book Daring Greatly, which we'll talk about, is like very much about risk taking, and like so I related to a lot about what you was talking about in the book.
Yeah.
About that because like I love like taking a risk and knowing that people are gonna be like gonna doubt you and like undermine you. Like for some reason, for me, like that fuels me. That makes me want to go even harder.
Like you're the audience for that piece of wisdom out in the world where it's like, you know, they'll tell you can't do it. You show them.
Exactly. You show them.
That
like,
never
fuels me.
that never
I know,
applied to
I know.
me.
You're
I never
so different
worked
in
for
that.
me. But
Yeah.
it's cool that that's something that works for you. You know?
It's really interesting. I mean, also the whole idea, which we discussed this, it really changed my life. The perspective of like we're just all gonna die one day and no one's gonna remember us. And for you, it stresses you out.
True.
But for me, it just like, it fuels me because like, I just might as well do things that like make me happy. And like, obviously you have to live responsibly and you have to live in your reality. You have to do things like, you can't just like live like it's the last day on earth.
Yeah.
But you don't either like inhibit your happiness because some random person who doesn't even know you is gonna be like, what are you doing? Like, that person doesn't even know
me
you.
and Rivka were having this conversation. It's so interesting how certain, I guess, philosophies can lead you down different roads.
Right.
And the YOLO philosophy of like, okay, you're just gonna die, and life is kind of, you create your own meaning type of thing, existentialism. I was saying how that can lead you down the path of nihilism, and how you could end up just lying in bed and just also, thinking that there's no point to doing anything, and just seeing the emptiness of life. Or you can go the path that Rivka's taking, which is, wow, that's so cool. Let me live my life to the most and make myself happy. It's just funny how I guess it manifests differently in people's lives.
But I agree with you that like, obviously if you get too much of like, you create your own meaning, it could become like, nihilistic. Nihilistic. You become nihilistic and not care about anything. That's a very dangerous place to be. I'm not saying to be in that place, but it's more like just putting things
or
in perspective,
just not
of like,
thinking before you're doing stuff. Those people that
that too. Yeah,
jump on everything.
It's more like it's like zooming out like into the universe and like how insignificant we are.
It's literally a TikTok. That's the TikTok trend, right?
What?
Oh, it literally zooms out. It's the TikTok. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, go.
The TikTok trend is literally someone posting like a problem, like, oh my god, what are they gonna think, and then also the sound makes them zoom out of the world, like you just go back into the universe, and it's like
so like that, like how insignificant we are, and so like how insignificant some random person being like, you can't do this is, like who are you to say what I can and cannot do, like, but then at the same time I do take into account what the people I care about think of me.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. It's
Brene talks about that.
Yeah.
She does talk about that.
Yeah. But what
about people, and it's funny because she does talk about people who are in the arena with you. She,
exactly.
And the thing that I realized is kind of heavily though, not a lot of times people who love you are not in the arena with you.
Right.
Which is, it's a hard distinction to make.
I don't know if that's true because I think by definition, somebody who loves you is kind of going to be in the arena with you. Whether
I don't think so.
Well, okay. Couldn't you define what it means to be in their arena?
Yeah.
They're taking the risk with you. Is that what that means?
I guess they're with you and they support you, and they, at the end of the day,
I don't think that's what it means. I took it more as like, they're also taking the risk. It's like,
right.
Yeah, we know like this is scary,
Yeah. They're living the kind of honest life that, and being vulnerable as well. I guess that's what it really means to be in the arena, to face vulnerability, but there's different and arenas. To combat shame. Like
there's different arenas that you can be in. You could be in the arena of like doing what you want no matter what anyone says. You could be in the arena of like standing up to your boss and like saying what you need to say. And so like somebody's in their arena with you, let's say somebody loves you and they see you doing something that's like a little bit out of the box or whatever, and so they're like, what are you doing? And it comes across like they're shaming you, which she talks about a lot with shame, but like they're in their arena with you because they love you, so they feel that risk taking also.
Yeah, no, maybe. I don't think they're in that arena with you. Okay. I think they're outside and the spectators kind of judging you along with the other judges. So
only people who support you are in the arena with you? How
I don't
does
know
that
if
work?
It's support. I don't know if it's support because there are people that you need to give you critical feedback, and sometimes that's not support entirely. Right. But what it is like that baseline was always there. That respect for you as an individual, that respect of vulnerability that you're taking, that they support that. And lots of times people who love you don't have that.
I guess, yeah, if it's coming off as shame, which she described shame, which I thought was very helpful that she defined shame, which I mean, we should just like introduce that we're reviewing the book. We read the book. I mean, I read some of it. Daring Greatly. Chai, you finished the whole book?
I did. Yeah. But this is a book called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Research professor at University of Houston. She has a PhD and an LMSW. And she studies vulnerability, shame, and empathy. She hosts, I don't know if she still does, but she hosts the Unlocking Us podcast. It's a really great podcast. And she's an author of many books. This one, I think, is one of her most popular ones. Mm-hmm. And it's
this one and Rising Strong. I think,
and Rising Strong. Yeah. And I'm also reading another book called Atlas of the Heart. Okay. Which is a really good, that's less of a more, it goes through the emotions and what exactly they are and how to define them and use them properly, because the vocabulary of our emotions is really important. So we don't just refer to us being sad. Like, what are you actually feeling now? So but it's a great book. So anyways.
So I was saying that it was helpful that she defined like shame, which I think she could have done like in the beginning. Like I have to say, like, I do think that this book, it's really cool ideas, but I just don't think it's entertaining. It doesn't hook you. It didn't hook me. I'll speak for myself. It did not hook me in any way. Like every time I'm reading, I'm like, okay, we're talking about the same thing again, like very repetitive in the beginning. Then I think with chapter 3, like she started to really like getting into the stuff, like really explaining what she like.
Shame was chapter 3.
With shame, like what does shame mean? How does it manifest itself?
Brilliant
like
chapter.
The Harry Potter like analogy. You know what I'm saying?
Like
that makes it more entertaining. Like already I'm hooked. Like okay,
I love when she gave the little tidbits of the interactions she had with people in her lectures.
Yeah, except the one with the. I mean, I like the Harry Potter. Like,
I wonder
analogy.
if you're going to say the one that I think was amazing. The one with the guy and the box.
No, not the box.
Oh, okay.
This guy who came with and he was like, you reminded me of Snape or something.
Oh, well, that's the Harry Potter one, no?
Yeah, so I like the analogy that she made to Harry Potter, where she was explaining the connection. But the whole situation with that guy, like, it sounded like the guy was like a 5-year-old. I don't know. It was just a very weird. I still remember the page because I stopped it by then.
I loved that. I loved all of it. Well, yeah, I think
so. Like that's just my review of the book. That like obviously it's really, and I think I'm going to continue reading. I think I'm going to continue reading it. But there's nothing that's like, oh my god, I'm like I need to get to this book. Like I remember opening up 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 12 Rules for Life, and just like wanting to read more. Like wow, this is wisdom.
It connected with you.
Like Atomic Habits. Like just like bringing things that like wow, I've never heard of before. Like bringing things in a new light. And this like, it was just boring for the beginning, honestly. But
fair enough. For me, that
was for me. But yeah,
definitely not that experience. I think this is one of the most transformative books I will ever have the pleasure of reading. It was not my first time finishing it, and I think the way that she articulates so simply and so poignantly the reasons why we have so much fear and shame, and what vulnerability means, and why what bravery really looks like versus what we think it looks like, is just it really struck me. So many points in this book. It's so funny how we had just such different experiences of it. So many points in this book I couldn't, like, I had to take a moment. Do you know what I mean? To like close it and just breathe. But I wanted to do like because of like the different a stupid summary because but not really. This is like a line I wrote. So the book is about how combating deep-rooted shame through vulnerability leads us to wholeheartedness. And this is from the book. So this is Brene writing. If we're going to find our way out of shame and back to each other, vulnerability is the path and courage is the light. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest act of daring greatly. So like, what do you think that sentence like means to you? Or that paragraph, I guess you could say.
Could you read it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's such a heavy sentence. 2 sentences. If we're going to find our way out of shame and back to each other, vulnerability is the path and courage is the light. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest act of daring greatly.
Okay. Yeah, I think she's just saying that like it's really cool. Like the idea that like we hold ourselves back from like because we don't want to take the risk of like I'm going to share with you and then you're going to hurt me.
Yeah. And
so we don't take that risk, and then instead we I guess become lonely and disconnected from people, and maybe that increases shame. I don't know where shame got into there.
Yeah. Well, you know what, it's funny because I think a couple podcasts I was talking about it with you where I mentioned how, you know, we always, the person who comes to talk to our friend group and like introduces and has that confidence is so amazing. But we would never want to put ourselves in that situation. It's literally this example.
Right.
It's vulnerability is the first thing I look for in you and the last thing I want to show you.
Exactly.
Which is just, it's very true.
It's like also like anybody who's made it like successful wise, like just big there out there. First of all, we get to be in the stands and criticize them. Mm-hmm. But they put themselves in their arena. Like she always brings that. Like they put themselves there.
It's a very strong visual. I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. We're in the stands and like they put themselves out there and they're in it. So you have to kind of have that resilience of like, I don't care what people think. I can't care what people that are not in my close circle think. Mm-hmm. I think we have to discuss the close circle thing because that's where it gets confusing.
The close circle thing?
Like, yeah, because you were saying like sometimes people who love you are not in the arena with you.
Yeah.
So then like who do you listen to? What only people who support you, but sometimes you're doing crazy things. Like, what if I wanted to just like run around naked tomorrow, and you're like, Rivka, don't do that. I'm like, you're not in the you're in the stands. You're not in the arena with me. Like,
Yeah.
where does shame come into play?
Don't
Don't
do that. Is that something you're planning on doing? Because I would really advise against it.
I mean,
but then again, I want
to see what your support is.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess I think that if I were to think of an answer, I think it's that it's how the person approaches the criticism. Do they come with like shaming you, where it's like, okay, you're a bad person, or you're a cringy person, you're doing something, you're just trying to get attention, or they're saying, no, I understand that you're really like trying to, they see they give you the benefit of the doubt, and then like just voice their criticism, like, but I'm worried that maybe, people are gonna hurt you or whatever, like, I guess that's where the difference really lies.
I think there was a part of her book where she talks about how her TED Talk, and how when she put it out, she was in a massive vulnerability hangover,
right?
And the first things that she was getting attacked about
was like her weight and appearance,
was the things that are most poignant around shame for women specifically.
Can I ask you a question? What did you do the first time you read that she said like people were saying that she's overweight and stuff?
And they were attacking her for her weight and for her looks.
Did you search her up?
I already knew what she looked like.
Oh, okay. I wonder if like a lot of people did that when they did the book. Because the first thing I did is search her up. I was like, what are people? And she's so like normal looking. Like it wasn't anything crazy. I was like, what is going on? But I guess people just try to find the like. Yeah. No. The simplest thing.
Well, no. They try to find the thing that will be the most hurtful, most shameful, specifically for women.
Right.
I love that chapter. I think it was chapter 3 where she really untangles shame and how it looks how it looks for women, how it looks for men as well.
Right.
I think it was such a brilliant, discussion of it. And so I think for her, she talked about how she had to realize that she's not going to just intake. She says she stopped reading comments, first of all, and she's not listening to anybody who's not in the arena with her. So I think that's something that you really learn along the journey of when you are becoming real, whose advice is important.
Right. Exactly. Which is so important to learn.
Yeah.
And by the way, with this like new project that I've been doing, like obviously it's a risk. Like I don't know if it's gonna pan out or not. Are we gonna, be successful? Are people gonna like it? Whatever. With like the whole CCF hub, but like having my entire like all my siblings like always supporting me, being like, oh my God, it's actually incredible what you're doing. Like don't stress. Like keep it going, whatever, all that, like it's incredible what a difference it can make.
Yeah.
Versus having people being like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you think you could just pull this off? Like,
I mean, what did you think about the part where she talks about the specific shaming around for women that really attack women? She said something about the looks and appearances. Mothering was another one, big one for women. Here. So this is a part from the book where she talks about shame and how in our culture, these are like shame trigger points for women specifically. Stay small, quiet, and sweet. U.S. study on conformity to feminine norms. Researchers listed the most important attributes associated with being feminine as being nice, pursuing a thin body ideal, showing modesty by not calling attention to one's talents or abilities, being domestic, caring for children, investing in a romantic relationship, using our resources to invest in our appearance. So what do you think about that?
I don't know. I didn't really relate to those things because I'm not like, maybe I'm not feminine. So maybe I'm not so feminine. And I don't really care. Like, I'm just gonna, I don't know. To me, like, I'll tell you what, like, I really relate to a lot of the things she's saying about like getting over shame, because I don't think I struggle with shame so much.
Okay.
So like, I relate. I don't know. Maybe I do and I don't realize, but like, I don't, like, a lot of things that she's saying, like, you just have to not care what people think, like that I relate to. I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, everything that I start, I just like, you ignore the people from the stands and like, you just do your thing. But like, this specifically, like, I don't know. Like, I never think of myself like, oh, actually, I always thought I was a tomboy and like more masculine, but like, I'm never like, oh, I have to show my more feminine side, this, that. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just me. Like,
yeah, I feel like you've become so much of that it feels like you were always that. But I wonder if that was the case for you always.
Okay, well, with specifically being feminine or like being in that type of way, I was always fine with like,
yeah,
and I'm not anything crazy. I'm not like out there like being a man. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
I think
I'm
you
not
have
either-
you're assertive and you're stubborn and you're curious,
And I'm
those
not
are
like
things that are like
into-
against the norms that we kind of just outlined.
Right.
But I think I think one of the most telling things was, and that was also hit home a lot for me, was shame regarding the way you look, your appearance,
Yeah.
your physical appearance.
That I think everyone struggles with. I don't think it's like
Right.
yeah.
It's every guy. I don't think it was as big as a thing for guys as much as it was for girls. Like
It's
girls,
funny
she listed as like
because-
the first one.
Yeah, but it's interesting that like I
just feel like it's so like, what's the word, infused in us as women, that we're not even aware. We're just constantly like on this edge of, do I look okay right now?
Oh my
How
God,
am I being
every
perceived?
single-
Do I look too fat? Do I look too skinny? Do I look pretty? Are they thinking it's so
I saw
messed up.
this clip like from Joe Rogan. He was asking one of, I think it was a comedian he had on or something. It was a girl.
Yeah,
He's like, what's with this
I
like
saw that.
obsession of girls being like these
guys don't even
tiny-
like it. I was
these
like,
little-
Joe, come on.
Yeah, like what is this obsession? I'm like, the girl, like, I don't know what she answered, but I'm like, how about the fact that like you look at Hollywood or like movies and that's all the girls look at and that's what the ideal of pretty means? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. You would think like Joe Rogan's smart enough to figure that out on himself, but like, okay. But it's
she
funny
didn't. She
that-
answered very, I think,
I don't remember
articulately.
what she said, but like
she said
my
she
mind
said-
was just racing when he asked that question. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Hollywood, like
Because-
magazines. What do you mean? Everything we look up to is
Yeah, because the woman was basically the woman was basically saying like, women just want to be skinny. He said, guys don't even like that. Just like, what? Why do girls want that? Like, guys don't even. And she was basically saying like, guys, it's not about guys. It's an
Right.
idea that's inculcated inside of us. It's a body that we just want.
Mhm.
Why do we want it? We don't know. We just
well.
we
It's
don't
not.
want it.
It's just because I think it's very clear. It's because that's what the ideal is when you're looking at what is like superior Hollywood models. That's what the body is.
right. So
What
when
do you
look
expect girls to like? You know, social media influencers, all that. And I listen.
it's just funny.
I don't think that it's like look. Listen, it's men also. I think men do want that. I don't know what Joe was saying that men don't want like the skinny.
the skinny girl.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think guys would prefer skinny girls.
I don't know. I think so too, but I also think that fat doesn't scare men. I don't know.
I don't know
I
if
also believe
scare is the
that.
right word, but like I think majority of guys are into more like thinner. I don't think guys would be into like a bigger. No, I'm not saying guy. I'm not saying
You're saying
blanket
majority of the
statement,
guys want.
but yeah,
a
guys
thinner
would
physique.
rather a thinner. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a feminine norm, like we said here.
yeah. So I think that's just like the male biology of like what they're attracted to. But I do think that women do it to
I don't
each
know if it's
other as
biology
well.
as much as I think it's more cultural. I don't know if it's entirely cultural. You know,
I don't know. That's
'cause
hard to decipher.
Even looking at biologically, what men would be attracted to is curves and things that indicate that this is a
Oh, but,
nurturing
like,
body that
Curves, fine,
could
but
hold babies, and you know what I mean. So not necessarily even like a really thin person. You know, like I feel like that's
Right.
It's funny though, in our culture, I feel like for women it's about shrinking, and for men it's about
bulking up.
bulking up.
Yeah.
It's the men are big, the women are small.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. What do you, like when if I asked you if to go out with a guy who's like your height, you're gonna be like, I'd rather someone taller than me. You know, like girls want guys who are bigger than them.
Yeah.
It makes sense. That's what we look at. So guys are into bulking up because that's what the girl wants. Girls are into slimming down because that's what the guy likes.
I mean, what I'm saying is, though, I don't think so. I don't necessarily think we do it for guys. I also don't think a lot
but-
of guys, like, I don't think do it because they think girls would be more attracted to them being like,
Where do you think it
like
comes
Liver
from,
King
though?
large.
Okay, Liver King, that's an extreme. But I'm saying, where do you
Right,
think
I
it comes
know.
from that the guys want to be big? If I by the way, I saw this thing. Somebody was
It's a
saying, like,
masculinity thing. It's like a it's like a.
but it's I really think it's because the girls like it. Why do
I think
guys
there's a
feel like they
large
need to
part of that.
flex their money and flex their cars? Why are they so
Oh.
into cars? Like, because
No,
girls
no,
like guys with money.
No, I get it, but also
But-
a lot of things is like masculine signaling to other guys. That's an actual evolutionary like thing. We're signaling to others guys that I'm the alpha. And
Yeah, but
I'm
what
the
makes
one,
you the
biggest
alpha?
one here?
But with the girls, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm the skinnier one.
I think when
It's
it
like the
actually
girls
comes
compare the
down
same
to
way.
it, though, like it's not about the thing is it's not
Why-
really about like
Okay,
I think
so
guys
why do
will tell you
girls want to be
often-
skinnier and why do guys want to be bulkier?
I think
Why
it-
is that the case?
I think it just varies individually of why a person is doing it. I understand that it could come into play that if a guy is more physically fit, it's more attractive to girls. That's probably that's a real thing, and it's also girls want to be skinnier because it's more attractive to guys. That's totally a thing. But like what the girl was saying to Joe Rogan is, I don't think he was saying guys don't even like that. I don't think it's as simple as we only do it for guys. I think it's an idea, it's a norm, it's an ideal that we have inside of our head that might not necessarily actually be so true, but since it's a norm, we all try to attain. I
guess I don't know. That's hard for me to like decipher where it comes from. I think it probably comes from the fact that you're going to get a better selection of a guy if you look a certain way.
I mean, yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, celebrities out there, guys, male celebrities out there are not going out with bigger girls.
I mean, I don't know.
Even Pete Davidson, who's like freaking ugly. He's ugly, but because he's rich and Pete tall. Ugly. You don't think he's ugly?
No, I don't think he's ugly.
Maybe I'm being like harsh, but I don't think
he's not ugly at all. Actually.
I don't think he's good looking at all. Do you think he's good looking? If he didn't have the fame or money or anything, you think he'd be good looking?
I think he's pretty good looking.
You think for the girls he's getting, he's good looking?
No, I think a lot of oh my God, but I don't like doing that. I don't like comparing. In any case, to bring it back to shame and how it surrounds, I think the whole thing where she talked about how men and how what their shame triggers are and how they have to, and how, it's not as easy to talk about emotions as like as women, as we like to believe. We want men to be just open and vulnerable, and how it actually kind of gives us the ick or whatever. And I thought that part was brilliant. And I'm glad that she also like took the time to get to know men and their shame.
Yeah, because I think she was saying that she started off like not.
Like this is about women. This is, but men have it too, It just like made me feel more connected to humanity.
That's I was actually thinking about this because I heard of a family where the mother had a few kids and the father left while the mother was pregnant with a few kids, and also he had a few kids, but he left. And I was like, this older kid or like the girl, we were discussing like, it's obviously hard for all the kids, but like who has it harder, the girl? I was like, probably the boys have it harder because they don't have a father around. But then I was like, wait, but like then the girl doesn't have like a good male figure in her life. And I was like, oh, like that's kind of weird. Like maybe, I don't know this for sure, but like maybe that's where a lot of people get their like F men like attitude, where they didn't have like a good father figure. So like then they get like codependent on these guys, and then they're just like, and then these guys hurt them, and then they're just like F men, whatever, because they don't have like good male like role model in their life, whatever. So it's just a realization.
Just an interesting realization. Probably could be true. I did want to maybe outline a little bit more about what she says about shame in the book, just because I think it's good to anchor it. So I'm going to go ahead and define it as she defines it. With shame, shame is the fear of disconnection. It's the fear that something we've done or failed to do, an ideal that we've not lived up to, or a goal that we've not accomplished, makes us unworthy of connection. So we have the messages of I'm not worthy or good enough for love, belonging, or connection. That is shame. Mm-hmm. And she untangles guilt versus shame, which I thought was also really interesting.
That I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, very, very helpful to understand the messages that you're telling yourself.
Started off the book with that. Like the whole first two chapters, I was so confused. Like I was like, but it's good to like feel bad for your actions. Like I was
people like you, I know. Yeah. People like you, as in people who are much more clinical with their approach to themselves. Right. And I used to be like that. And I really did. It's more Jordan Petersonian, I think, with you're a bag of shit, but you could be better. And that's kind of what you're holding on to. And I really used to hold on to that message, but I don't think I had enough self-love or self worth, or thought I was enough. And this book, why it hit me so much, is because I think it teaches you that you're really enough, and that has to be your base always. And if you're vulnerable.
By the way, before I wasn't saying that like that she's wrong about shame. Yeah. All I'm saying is that until she described exactly what shame is, where it becomes I am bad versus what I did was bad. Until she defined that, I was confused, because you have to acknowledge that you did something bad in order change, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when she defined it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Shame is bad, you know? But
shame is really bad. And it's also something that I learned as well, because I thought there was some social benefits to shame. I thought it was a necessary tool we need in society, because it keeps people within boundaries.
right.
And it keeps people socially acceptable. So like even evolutionarily, when I'm saying like, I actually read this paper by like, I don't know, about disgust and shame. But, and these things date back to years and years ago. So I didn't really think it was something that wasn't necessary. I thought it was needed. But the way she describes shame as it being absolutely detrimental, and there really being no positivity to shame at all. She says, 2011 study found that of mental health and drug abuse, the National Institute of Mental Health and Drug Abuse found physical pain and intense experiences of social rejection hurt in the same way. It's highly correlated with addiction, violence, aggression, depression, eating disorders, and bullying. There's really
1,000%.
nothing good to shame. And this is something that
I experienced that with
people
dieting
know.
as well.
Yeah.
That when
like self-shame.
Yeah. When it comes from shame, it just doesn't go anywhere, because then I end up going to the other extreme. You know, it's like one extreme. It's like, okay, like my worth is attached to like what I eat, basically. And then I can't keep up with it, whatever it is. I go too extreme.
Yeah.
And then I go to the other extreme. I'm like, okay, it's all or nothing. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm just like, I'm lazy. I have no self-control. Let me just like eat whatever I want. This is who I am.
Yeah.
It's becoming like you kind of like define who you are before you are that thing. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it. Like, oh, I'm lazy. I'm bad at this, and you don't even try.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. That
It's
shame
crazy. It's such a bullying tactic that you employ on yourself. You know,
it's also like a self-protection, I guess. To not even. I learned about this in psychology of like people will just why do people self-sabotage? Doesn't make any sense. Don't you want the best for yourself? Like, but people self-sabotage to have a way out, have something to blame. You know, I'm just lazy. This is because
there's so much fears associated with like going failing. After things. Yeah. Going after things.
Can we talk about that for a second? Like the fear of failing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like people should just, and I guess like it makes sense because people are just like innately just scared of like disappointing others, or like being like something that people can point to and be like, that person didn't do, because we all, people just talk about people who fail. Oh, they tried this and they failed. Like nobody wants to be that topic of a discussion. But like, it's crazy that the only way that you can really, really do something great is if you risk something. If you put something on the line. So and like, yeah, well,
she says this in the book.
Yeah, I know.
Very,
it's the whole idea.
Yeah, that was a very succinct summary or good point. She says, when we spend our lives waiting until we're perfect or bulletproof before walking to the arena, we ultimately sacrifice relationships and opportunities that we may not be able to recover. We squander our precious time, and we turn our backs on our gifts, those unique contributions that only we can make.
Yeah, like you're
basically
not.
It.
Yeah, and it's wild because everyone wants to like get to the point where you're like considered great, but without all the work and the messiness in the middle.
I think that
for me, I love the messiness in the middle.
I want to take a moment to like not applaud you, but to put you in the spotlight for a second, because I think you're exactly right about that. I think something that's so special about you is that you recognize that you're messy, imperfect, and wholehearted, but you have to go through the process, and you just put yourself through that.
When do I
I think you do that in general in life, especially even with this podcast. I think that like when I was reading this, I was thinking of you, and really? I was thinking of me too, because for me, a lot of my life is on the other side. Is when I get there.
Exactly.
When I'm perfect, when I'm smart, when I write something amazing, when. And there's so much obviously shame involved with that, because I have a shame of not being good enough, of not being incredible enough. I have fears of failing. I have a fear of putting myself out there and walking to the arena without the suits of armor that I feel like are sufficient enough. But I think like you've shown, like you've been the example of just like putting yourself out there and doing it without the armor. It's really scary, but I feel like you understand that.
And I don't know if you've got, well, thank you. That's really sweet. I appreciate that. I guess I don't know, whatever. But for this podcast, a lot of people have asked me, I don't know if you got the same thing from like peers and like just people around our age of being like, wow, like how are you not in a way of like how you not embarrassed, like you should be embarrassed.
It's people are so
no, but it's more of like they were like commending is the good one, right?
Yeah, condemning is
right. Okay, they were commending like the bravery. They're like,
Yeah.
wow, like how do you just like not care what people think, like, and I'm just like I really want to be a big. I was trying to explain this in a way where like I really want to like make an impact on the world and like do something influential, but like what am I gonna do? Like not put myself out there? Like how do you? To me, it's so clear. You can't do one without the other. You know, it comes together. So like whatever, but I got this so many times. Did you ever get that from people? Like how do you put yourself out there like that?
I think I've gotten a lot more judgment versus like commending of the bravery.
Do you think that you perceive it as judgment because you're projecting, or it's actually judgment?
No, I think it's actually judgment. Okay. F you. Like no. I know when judgment is judgment.
Right now you're gonna go and be like, you could just judge me for the judgment
do you think you're
that I got.
You're just projecting.
Why?
I think it's like
feel
people
like that happens to me all the time, where people are like, wow, like this must be hard, or like they'll say something that's like supposed to be a compliment, but I will totally perceive it as something bad or a judgment because I'm like so insecure about what I've done, you know? So that happens to me, but that's what I was asking. I'm not saying that you are doing that. Maybe you actually experienced judgment. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. I've experienced what it feels like to be spoken to from people in the stands of the arena and not in the arena with me. And it's cool. I feel like there's a lot of internal growth that I've went through, even just with this process with the podcast. And it's cool to just care less. Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool to care less, and it's really cool to call it out. Just like blatantly. Be like, all right, well, that's not cool. But whatever. Do it like kind of dispassionately.
Right, not giving too much.
Yeah, and because if you were really mad about it, it's obviously something you still care about, which is fine.
Which is fine. You'll go through the process.
To care about things, especially if, because that is one of the hardest things about
especially
walking into the arena and going into the arena. You know, she says something about shame that I think is just so brilliant. She says, this is something I kind of wrote. When we talk about the community valuing all the wrong things, I think this is one of them. With shame, we see over and over that rather than celebrate wholeheartedness, not just our community, but people in general, they would rather us disengage or tone it down or stop or you're being too much.
But I don't know if they would rather.
They'd rather us.
Or they just
not do the things that put us in the arena.
No,
because there's so much risk associated with that, and there's so much fears that
they don't want to support it until it's successful. That's where I think it comes from. People don't want to support things that are new until it's successful. Then they're like, yeah, amazing.
Sure.
So I think that that's not like that they
anti what I'm saying. No, because I'm not just goes along with it.
No, because I'm saying like I don't think that people are like they would rather you not do anything. They actually are probably getting entertainment from you, like.
Not good entertainment. At the point of you doing it, they would rather you not. When it's successful and it's you've proven, right? You've
I don't think they
proven
really
that
care
you
about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't. That's the problem.
So
but sometimes
do it or not.
Sometimes those are the people that you love, right? Like sometimes those people that are supposed to care about you the most. I think at the moment when you're doing that, when you're taking the risk and you're in the arena, and it's not. That's the thing about being in the arena. It's. Sometimes you're fighting the lion and it's on top of you and you're getting bloodied and beaten up. Like sometimes it's tough. Do you know what I mean? But just doing that is engaging. That's what Brene says. You're engaging with life. You're being wholehearted. You're putting yourself out there. You're taking risks. You're going after, I don't know, the things that you want to do in life. But the people only see that struggle or only see the people who are watching the struggle and the judgment that they have and reflect that back on you, as opposed to seeing, wow, look at her fighting the lion. But they don't do that.
Right.
That's what I mean with people not recognizing what the right things are and not supporting you with the right things. And I just wish people stop getting so lost in the stupid stuff. Really. Just stop getting lost in stupid stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely tricky when, I guess, yeah, for people who are not in your lives and like you don't even know them, they don't even know you, they just want to pass judgment and they just want to be judgmental. It's just like, okay, who cares? But when it comes to people who are close to you or people that like you value their opinion, that gets tricky. Does she discuss that? Because I didn't finish the book, but does she discuss like how to deal with that?
Not specifically in this book, maybe in another book. Like people you love, not.
Right. Like how do you trust? Like I wonder if she discussed like how do you trust?
To me, it's fundamentally important. If you're meaning, I wouldn't consider you a good blank. I think obviously that's like kind of part of the problem, because I'm saying you're not, like, it's kind of attacking the person as they are. I would say you're failing to be a good friend if you're not, if you're passing those kind of judgments and not like seeing what the person is doing and their wholeheartedness.
But what if the person is doing something that like you don't necessarily relate to or care about? You have to care about it?
No, because you don't have to do anything. I don't think you have to do anything.
But I'm saying
those are not the right terms. I wouldn't say you have to do anything.
Right. Maybe have
Meaning,
to is the wrong
me as
word,
a
but like
Rivka, personally, like, I think it's my duty as a friend for you to always know that I am never, like, I'm not judging you.
Right.
I'm always here and supporting you, and I love you, like, regardless of if you run naked in the street. Don't do it. But if you do, please don't do it. But I'm saying,
yeah,
you should know that.
Let's take that example. You wouldn't judge me? I don't believe that. I don't believe that you wouldn't judge me for that.
For running naked in the street?
I would think you'd probably be like, okay, Rivka probably went off the rails a little bit.
Yeah. I'd be very concerned about your mental health. I'd be like, what happened?
And I'd be like, I'm fine. Like, why are you passing judgment? What happened? What do you mean?
No, you wouldn't. And you would never do that.
I'm just saying, like, let's take that. Let's go to the most extreme so we can figure out where this theory like falls apart a little bit. Like,
it's never good to go to the most extremes.
Yeah, it is. You have to go to the most extreme to like bring an example in.
So go ahead.
So
the most extreme. I love the most extreme is you running out naked in the street.
It's one of like an extreme thing because that would never happen. But like if that would happen, you would. How would you show your support?
So it would definitely be me not shaming you or saying like, you're so weird. Why would you do that? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? It'd be me questioning you a little bit about why you decided to do that. Just wondering. Anyways, I just think a lot of what she said about shame is real, and I think we all do it. We'll shame each other, not
shame
even
ourselves. Probably actually, yeah, we shame each other as well.
We shame ourselves a lot,
but we shame ourselves a lot too.
We stay in shame,
and shame is really like it doesn't do anything. It just like sinks you lower and lower. Because shame is like convincing yourself that you're this person. And so like why am I gonna even try to be something else like when I am this person?
Exactly. It just convinces you. So she talks about the directions that shame makes you go. She says shame makes you move away, move toward, or move against, which I think is like a really interesting way to like triad to think about it. Okay. Right, like shame can make you move away, it can make you isolate, it can make you never want to go out into the world. It can make you move towards, it can make you overly clingy, overly loving, overly empathetic to try to like prove that I guess you are lovable and you're attractive or whatever. Or it can make you move against, and it meaning make you rageful, and it can make you just I hate the world. And it's so interesting. That's really interesting that these three things all stem from shame because they look so different in action.
Right.
And they come out in different personalities. But another thing she said about shame and shame resilience is that it's a strategy for preserving connection to ourselves and to other. That's shame resilience, but it's really hard to do because preserving connection to ourselves and to others requires cognition or thinking, and shame descends when we're hijacked by our limbic system, which is our fight or flight.
Okay.
So combating shame is an especially hard thing to do because it's combating our limbic, our
like our automative
yeah,
nervous system, basically.
exactly.
Right.
Which I thought was just really interesting.
Mm-hmm. That is really interesting. It is. It does seem like something that we're just like, it's our default setting to just feel shame.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's nature or maybe nurture. I don't know. So it's, yeah, a lot of people get stuck in it. I don't know what's the,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think having like, you know, supportive friends, supportive family.
Yeah, she says that's one. Empathy as the antidote to shame.
Right.
So support. And then she says, if we're going to, and she talks about vulnerability as the path to dealing with shame and to combating it, which I thought was really interesting.
Right.
Because you kind of think as vulnerability as like the antithesis to shame. Like you don't think being more vulnerable, or you don't think being more open.
You think it would increase your shame.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But it's not. Turns out.
Yeah, because it's coming to you have to come to an acceptance of like that risk of being hurt. You're opening yourself up to judgment when you're being vulnerable. That's pretty much what vulnerable is. You're
exactly
like the definition of being vulnerable is that you're like
open.
You're open. You're weak. You have like
you've taken off the armor.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
just so.
I mean, I don't know if it's an antidote to shame because then you could
empathy.
Become more shameful. Like she said, vulnerable hangover. Like you could, if I share too much with someone, next day I could feel like I'm overshare. Like,
yeah, I think it's like a continual process. But I think she gives a really good example of what vulnerability, like what a moment of vulnerability looks like in your day.
Okay.
So she says, well, empathetic vulnerability and how it affects you and the person that you're giving it towards. So in the grocery store, or not even, I was actually just in the library and there was a screaming child, like really, really screaming child. And it was very disruptive, right? As it would be in a quiet library. It's funny, the lady beside me, and I'm not shaming her, and I understand her annoyance, but she kept huffing and puffing, like, are you kidding me? Stop.
Right.
Like literally like that. And it's so funny because I was recalling.
I'm trying to get comfortable. Yeah.
You're good?
Yeah.
I was recalling what Brene wrote in the book, where if that same situation was happening in a grocery store and you were there, she says, flashing a smile and to the mother who's like obviously probably steeped in shame at that moment because of what's going on, saying, oh, we've all been there. Like, I know how hard it is. Can I like, or even just flashing a smile to show the support, like the empathy. I understand what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
That is vulnerability on your part because you don't know what the mom's going to be like, mind your own business or snap at you because she's in shame. So she might want to project or whatever. But
and also, yeah,
that is the answer,
right? And
the
also,
empathy.
which I just realized, which what you were saying is like when you are in situations where like you're not perfect or you put yourself out there, you're in those stressful moments where like people are judging you.
Yeah.
Then you can be empathetic to other people who are in those moments. If you're always shielded, most people who shame other people are shielded in their own little, you know.
Isn't this all just so sad?
I mean,
I just feel
you
like
could get sad about it if that's all you think about. And
that's all I think about.
An example of this is that like I've been going on the train every morning now. I wake up at like 6:45 a.m. and I'm on the train at like 7:15, whatever.
Hour to be up
it's
at.
Honestly nice. It's really good. There's a certain amount of adrenaline. It's kind of like when you go to the gym, or like
we used to.
Yeah, but I'm not even saying early in the morning. I'm saying like when you start out going to the gym, it's like really hard, but you feel amazing after.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You wake up, it's torture, but then once you get out like that early, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, my point is that
it is nice to be out early. It
it's
feels
very
like
nice.
A solid day.
You get the morning like cold in your face, and you're just like up.
Nice. You're making me want to.
And you feel very
6:45 is a little too early though.
Yeah, 7:30. The thing is, I'm forced to get up at 6:45, and I'm forced to get out of my. I would never wake up this early if I wasn't forced to, because I have to. I'm up. And I go outside like 15 minutes after I wake up. I'm dressed and I'm walking to the train. So that's it. Like I'm up and I'm going. So whatever. It's nice. I would say to have a purpose to wake up early. You can't just wake up early with no purpose. Otherwise you're going to like be on your phone scrolling.
Yeah. I actually just read an article about morning routines and why they're so important and why it's important to set your intention for the day and all that.
I saw something like that also. Anyways, my point is that I was on the train and like I haven't been on the train in so long because I haven't really like traveled that much to the city or anything.
I take the train every single day.
Okay, so I started becoming re-exposed to all the crazy people on the train. On the way there,
they're 7 a.m.
Sometimes, yeah.
Wow.
Just for people to know, if you're ever coming to New York City or if you don't know the trains yet, don't go. And this is what I learned the hard way. Do not, if it's rush hour, do not go on an empty train. There's a reason why it's empty. Do not go on an empty train. I saw like, I was like, oh, empty seats, perfect. Like, because it's packed. At 7:30, it's packed. People are going to work. Oh, it's crazy.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's rush hour.
So it's rush hour and I see this empty, like not empty, but like there's a lot of seats in that car. Like, perfect. Let me go on. I'll get a seat. There's this guy like high off his mind and the entire place smelled like weed. I had to run out the next stop to another car.
I hate it. It's so stressful. But I actually did that one time and I like missed it. I missed the train because
it's so annoying.
I literally sprinted like I was Usain Bolt, but I couldn't get it.
So let's apply this because like how do we not shame that guy? Because he's so annoying that he's ruining everyone's morning by stinking up the place with weed.
I mean, I know how annoying it is, but you want to. I guess if you're trying to apply, I guess if you're trying to apply Brene's advice is to look at him with empathy and say But in the morning, you're tired. You just need to get out of there. Going through. I don't know what he's been through. I don't know why he feels like he needs to smoke a freaking huge amount of weed at the, you don't know what this guy is going through.
But how does that help him? Because you're not expressing that to him. You're just leaving the train and going to another car. I'm not willing to sacrifice my
if you're
health
if you come
or whatever.
From that, if you actually are so concerned about helping him, and if you come from that empathetic perspective, right, from that vulnerability, like she says, and from not a place of shame, from disgust, which he'll read right away, and you go to him. And if you want to take that risk, also because I would never tell anyone to do something like that, especially in New York City,
right? Because
it's not safe, and you don't want to put. That's why they're police. You know what I mean? But if you feel like you're in a safe situation, then go to him and strike up a conversation of some sort. And
do you think that's realistic for like?
I think it's a better approach. I think it's what we need in our culture because I think shaming is so infused in us. And the only antidote is to look at each other with more empathy and love. And it's going to be freaking hard because obviously there's those people that are going to make you question why you're doing that. Right. But those are not the scenarios that we come across in life. I don't think so. Like if you're constantly thinking about stinky weed guys on the train and that's why you're taking a hard-nosed approach to life, you're going to take a hard-nosed approach to life to your daughter who might really benefit from an empathetic approach.
Why is this going to transfer over to your daughter? I don't get that connection.
Because if you're
caring so much about this random guy, you're saying
no. I'm saying if your approach to life is people need to be told off and there are reasons for things and you belong in a certain place, then that approach will carry into your life and into the people that you love. And right. I don't know.
You're saying that it's a general paradigm shift that we have to make. It's not just. Yeah. Anyways, my point was that 7
habits. So that was one with you.
What?
7 habits are
why? What do you mean 7 habits?
That's the paradigm shift.
Oh, the paradigm shift. Yeah. Oh my God, that book changed a lot of.
And when I think of the 7 habits, I think of our Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was you. Oh my God, I did this weird thing where do you still play with your gum while you read?
Ew! Don't expose me like that. Shame. I have.
You are not disgusting. You did a disgusting thing.
Because the messages in my head are just you disgusting creep. I play with my gum. I played with like thumb.
No, you play with your gum, Chaya.
I have like a sensory. Like I like playing with things. I'm biting my nails or like twirling my hair. I don't know. I have to always have something.
Anyway, so I literally never concluded my point about this. Is that
so? It's not that gross to play with your gum.
I guess it's your gum. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would never play with your gum.
Wait until you have my gum, and then you'll tell me to play with it or not. Anyways, what was I saying? so all these people on the train. So I saw this one guy. I was sitting on the train. I think it was on my way. It was on my way there.
Did you get like secondhand high?
No, I left that card immediately. But this guy he was shooting something. I don't know if it was heroin or something, but he had a needle and he was shooting a needle. And it was like, and then there was that. And then I saw this weed guy, and then he moved to my car and he was like walking by and he was completely out of this world and like trying to ask for money, but he couldn't say any words, whatever. It made me like depressed for a good 2 minutes, and I had to get out of the train and walk and do my thing. So I like forgot about that. But like, I was like, wow, like people are like really struggling in this world.
I think that too.
And but my point is that when you're surrounded by that, that's kind of all you can, if you're surrounded by it, then that's what you think about. But again, I forgot about it because, I'm busy with my life and I'm being productive and I'm doing things. So it didn't consume me all day. Mm-hmm. But I think that I don't, obviously people shame other people and it exists. But I also think there's such good things about life. And I think that's the idea of like, think good and it will be good. I think it's a really big.
I think it's a good approach to have. And I also just want to say, I think we are surrounded by it. Brene says Americans today are more debt-ridden, obese, medicated, and addicted than we've ever been. Drug overdoses is a leading cause of accidental deaths in car crashes, which is the second leading cause of death. Most people die from prescription drugs over heroin, cocaine. Less than 5% of those drugs are from drug dealers. And we're obviously in a culture of trying to feel less. We're trying to numb. We're trying to get away from something. And she thinks it's the shame, the anxiety, and the disconnection, which she uses as an umbrella term for depression, isolation, loneliness, disengagement, and emptiness. And I love this line from her book so much. She says, the most accurate answers to the question about what drives numbing sounds more like the answers to what's your sign?
Wait. Say that again.
She says the most accurate answers to the question about what drives numbing sounds more like the answers to what's your sign.
I don't get it.
So do you know when people ask you what your sign is, what that means? So she's saying like the driving force for what causes numbing and for what's making us feel so disconnected.
It means is like
the fact that we look at each other and we don't.
Oh, I mean, like, what's your sign?
She uses that as like a line, but obviously it's not really. Astrology is the problem.
Right,
saying the disconnection.
Okay.
She just says we feel disconnected because we don't feel worthy of connection, and that creates a pain so intense that creates the pain that's as bad as the actual physical sensation of physical pain. And that's what we want to numb. So
that's probably why people hurt themselves, cut themselves.
Yeah,
feeling that loneliness.
I think people feel it regardless, and I think like if people feel too much, then they cut and hurt themselves. And I think people hurt themselves also in not physical ways. I think they hurt themselves, like you're saying, with the constant backing away into isolation or fears or never really putting themselves out there.
But I do think like
there's so
again,
much.
I'm going to reiterate my point that I think it's so important to just surround yourself by positive thoughts and people who support you, and because then if you're too much in the place of like people are hurt, like obviously helping people who are hurting, but if you're too much around that, then you bring yourself down.
Yeah. Well, she says connection is energy. That's
like connecting with people is really important.
When we feel seen, heard, and valued. When we can give and receive without judgment.
And like, I guess
really
the most important thing to me, what I took away, maybe you could share the most important thing that you took away, was the idea of like not taking ourselves too seriously. God, I don't know if that's the opposite point.
I love how different we are.
It's crazy.
I truly like it. I think it's so funny.
Yes, and I think you probably take yourself seriously. That's a trait that I think you have. And I
take myself seriously. I take life. I think life is serious.
Yeah.
But I don't think.
And I think
everything is a big thing.
No, of course not. But I'm saying I think you take life more seriously. And I'm just like, whatever. And I'm not saying that's always good and whatever. But yeah, I do think that if you don't take yourself so seriously, and
that's why I think Jordan Peterson also speaks to me a lot, because I think he
takes himself very seriously.
I don't like the way you say he takes himself. It's almost like a little bit of a
it is a judgment.
Yeah. It's not he takes himself too seriously. Because people have this thing where it's like, don't take yourself too seriously, you weirdo. Life is about having fun. or life is like,
I'm not saying weirdo. I just don't
meaning in that same kind of like tone.
I also think it's okay not to like people. Like, I'm not allowed, I know alloud's not the best word, but like, it's not wrong of me to not like Jordan Peterson. Like, he's doing fine without me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my words are not affecting him. So like, if it's
about why you don't like people.
I don't like
that
as well. Like, it's not bad to not like someone. Okay? Like, you're not going to like every single person that you meet. You're not going to vibe with every single person that you meet.
No,
So
I don't think
you don't have to break yourself to be friends with every person. Then you're just being fake. You know? You're not being who you are. So I think that's a good point to make. And like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think so. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting message to take from her book. I understand how I'm struggling to understand how you got there.
I got there because maybe like it's just my preconceived like view of life, and I'm like finding any way to like
hindsight bias or whatever,
something like that, whatever. But I think that like if you don't take yourself too seriously, then things that you do is not attached to your identity like so much. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm doing this thing. It's not me who it is. Like, I'm just trying different things out. Like, I'm not. If you claim you're an expert at something,
I see.
You know what I'm saying?
I see it.
Like if you claim you're an expert at something, you're automatically wrapping your identity around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you fail, then you're like, oh shoot, like I'm not an expert at this, and then you're shaming yourself, and you're getting in that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like that's why I love like Andrew Schultz so much, or like Dave Portnoy, or these people who don't take themselves so seriously. Like, I'm just an idiot, and actually those people sometimes have the most profound messages and probably could reach the most people because people could relate to them more than the person who's like, I know better than you. Ben Shapiro types. You're going to disagree with me with JP types, you know?
JP.
Jordan Peterson.
Definitely don't think he's like that.
My opinion, but yeah.
I hear that. Well said. I think there's so much to take out of Brene's book. But I actually think it's actually important for me to say one thing just because I have like so much appreciation for her research and for what she writes and for what she illuminates. I think the main thing though that like I walked away feeling was proud of myself for being vulnerable and recognizing that as courageous and as a trait I can really be very proud of myself for, and knowing that I'm enough, knowing the sources of scarcity culture and where shame comes from. And I think one of the main things, I know I just outlined a couple things, but the main thing is like how being in the arena is really living life. And the more you're in there, the more the stands just blur into the background. Yeah. And the people shouting from there and doing what you want to do and knowing that you're really living life by doing that. So that's what I took out of her book.
1,000%.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Guys, subscribe, please.
Yeah, subscribe.
And follow us on Spotify. I know people listen.
And follow us on Instagram too.
Don't follow. And follow us on Instagram.
Rivka's an amazing video editor.
Thanks.
Creates really cool clips.
And you make very good content. So
nice all around.
That are in the clips.